Introduction. The two-word text that changed everything. Brooklyn stared at her phone screen for the third consecutive night, her mind racing at 2:47 a.m. The text message from her boyfriend contained just two words: "Trust me." That was it. No context. No explanation. Just those two simple words that had unleashed a tornado of anxiety in her mind. What did he mean by "trust me"? Was he hiding something? Was this his way of preparing her for bad news? Maybe he was planning to break up with her and wanted her to trust that it was for the best. Or perhaps he was seeing someone else, and this cryptic message was some kind of guilty confession wrapped in false reassurance. For 3 sleepless nights, Brooklyn analyzed every possible meaning, replayed their recent conversations, and searched for clues in his behavior. She crafted dozens of response texts, deleting each one before hitting send. She called her best friend at midnight, seeking validation for her spiraling thoughts. She even considered showing up at his apartment to demand an explanation. The irony? He was planning a surprise weekend getaway to celebrate their 6-month anniversary. Those 2 words were his playful response to her asking what they should do that weekend. But Brooklyn's anxious mind had transformed a loving gesture into a relationship crisis that existed only in her head. Sound familiar? If you've ever found yourself trapped in similar mental loops, dissecting every word, gesture, or silence from your partner until you're exhausted and confused, you're not alone. Millions of people sabotage their relationships, not through their actions, but through the relentless overthinking that turns love into a source of anxiety rather than joy. Breaking free from the mental prison. This book exists for one crucial reason: to provide you with a scientifically backed practical system that can break the overthinking cycle and transform your anxious relationship patterns in just 24 hours. Not 24 weeks, not 24 months to 24 hours. You deserve to experience love without the constant mental chatter that questions every interaction. You deserve to feel secure and confident in your relationships without needing endless reassurance from your partner. Most importantly, you deserve to create the kind of deep, authentic intimacy that comes from genuine connection rather than anxious attachment. The 24-hour reset system you'll learn in this book isn't just another collection of relationship tips. It's a comprehensive rewiring protocol that addresses the root neurological and psychological patterns that keep you trapped in overthinking cycles. This system has been developed through extensive research in attachment theory, neuroscience, and cognitive behavioral therapy, then tested and refined with real people experiencing real relationship anxiety. The goal isn't to eliminate all relationship concerns. Healthy relationships require some level of awareness and communication about challenges. The goal is to free you from the mental prison of overthinking that prevents you from experiencing the love and connection you truly desire. WHO This book is for. This book is specifically designed for anyone who recognizes themselves in Brooklyn's story. If you're someone who analyzes every text message for hidden meanings, spending more time interpreting your partner's words than actually enjoying your conversations, this book will show you how to break free from the mental prison of overthinking that's sabotaging your relationships. Lies awake at night replaying conversations, searching for signs that something is wrong, or creating elaborate scenarios about what your partner really meant. You'll discover how to feel secure and confident in love without constantly seeking reassurance. Seeks constant validation from friends, family, or your partner about whether your relationship is okay, often exhausting both yourself and others with your need for reassurance. Sabotages good relationships by creating problems that don't exist, pushing away partners with your anxiety, or ending things prematurely because you've convinced yourself something is wrong. Feels like you love too much or too intensely, and worries that your emotional needs are too overwhelming for others to handle. Experiences physical symptoms of relationship anxiety, racing heart, sleepless nights, loss of appetite, or constant tension when you're uncertain about your partner's feelings. Chronically second guesses your partner's intentions, even when they've given you no real reason to doubt them. This book is for the chronic overthinker who is ready to transform their relationship patterns and create deeper intimacy through authentic connection rather than anxious attachment. It's for anyone who has ever felt trapped by their own mind when it comes to love, and who is ready to experience the freedom and joy that comes with secure, confident relationships. Whether you're single and want to break these patterns before your next relationship, currently dating someone and struggling with anxiety, or in a long-term partnership that's being strained by your overthinking, this system will meet you where you are and guide you toward healthier relationship patterns. Why this book is different. Most relationship advice treats overthinking as a surface-level problem that can be solved with simple mindset shifts or communication techniques. Just stop overthinking, they say, as if it were that easy. Talk to your partner more, they suggest, not understanding that for anxious lovers, more talking often means more opportunities to analyze and worry. This book takes a fundamentally different approach because it's built on 3 revolutionary insights. First, the neuroscience breakthrough. Recent advances in brain imaging have revealed exactly what happens in the overthinking brain during relationship stress. We now understand that anxious attachment patterns create specific neural pathways that can be rewired using targeted interventions. This book incorporates cutting-edge research from neuroscientists like Dr. Daniel Siegel and Dr. Rick Hansen to show you exactly how to reshape these neural patterns in just 24 hours. Second, the attachment theory revolution. Drawing on the groundbreaking work of Dr. Sue Johnson, creator of emotionally focused therapy, in Dr. Amir Levine's research on attachment styles, this book goes beyond surface-level symptoms to address the core attachment wounds that fuel relationship overthinking. You'll understand not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it, and more importantly, how to change it. Third, the 24-hour transformation framework. Unlike traditional therapy that can take months or years, or self-help books that offer vague long-term strategies, this system is designed for rapid transformation. By combining specific cognitive interventions, somatic practices, and behavioral shifts into a concentrated 24-hour protocol, you can break patterns that may have plagued you for years. The strategies in this book aren't theoretical. They're the result of working with hundreds of individuals struggling with relationship anxiety, combined with insights from leading relationship psychologists, attachment researchers, and neuroscientists. Every technique has been tested in real-world situations with people just like you. Most importantly, this book recognizes that overthinking isn't a character flaw or a sign of weakness. It's a learned response that served a purpose at some point in your life, and it can be unlearned and replaced with healthier patterns that actually enhance your relationships rather than undermining them. Your journey from anxious to secure. This book will take you on a carefully structured journey from anxious overthinking patterns to secure, confident love. Here's the transformation pathway you'll follow. You'll start by understanding the enemy. In the first section, you'll discover the hidden neuroscience behind relationship overthinking. You'll learn why your brain creates these anxious loops, how they developed, and most importantly, why they're not your fault. Understanding the mechanics of overthinking is the first step to dismantling its power over you. Next, you'll uncover why you've struggled before. We'll explore why traditional relationship advice fails anxious lovers, and why just communicate more or think positive thoughts haven't worked for you. You'll discover the specific ways that conventional wisdom actually makes relationship anxiety worse, and why you need a completely different approach. Then comes the transformation. You'll learn the complete 24-hour reset protocol that rewires your relationship patterns from the ground up. This isn't a single technique. It's a comprehensive system that addresses your thoughts, emotions, physical responses, and behaviors simultaneously. You'll discover specific interventions for different types of overthinking, from text message analysis to future-focused worry. Throughout your journey, you'll be guided by expert insights from Dr. Sue Johnson on attachment and emotional connection, Dr. Daniel Siegel on the neuroscience of relationships, Dr. Kristen Neff on self-compassion, and other leading authorities who have dedicated their careers to understanding love and attachment. You'll see real transformation in action through detailed case studies of people who who have used this system to break free from their overthinking patterns. You'll meet Gregory, who went from checking his girlfriend's social media obsessively to feeling secure in their connection, and other individuals who transformed their pattern of creating relationship crises from minor misunderstandings. Finally, you'll build unshakable relationship confidence with practical tools and strategies for maintaining your new patterns long-term. You'll learn how to handle future relationship challenges without falling back into overthinking, how to communicate your needs without seeking constant reassurance, and how to create the kind of deep intimacy that comes from authentic connection rather than anxious attachment. By the end of this journey, you'll have everything you need to experience love as it's meant to be experienced, as a source of joy, connection, and security rather than anxiety and confusion. Your 24HOUR commitment to freedom. Right now, you're standing at a crossroads. You can continue down the familiar path of relationship overthinking, analyzing every interaction, seeking constant reassurance, and exhausting yourself with mental loops that steal your joy and sabotage your connections. Or you can choose a different path, one that leads to the secure, confident love you've always wanted. The choice is yours, but it requires a commitment. Not a commitment to months of therapy or years of self-improvement, but a commitment to giving yourself just 24 hours to break free from the mental prison that's keeping you from the love you deserve. 24 hours. That's all this system asks of you. One day to implement the scientifically backed strategies that can rewire decades of anxious patterns. One day to discover what it feels like to experience love without the constant mental chatter. One day to transform your relationship with relationships themselves. The person you'll be 24 hours from now, the one who can receive a cryptic text message without spiraling, who can enjoy intimate moments without analyzing them to death, who can love fully without drowning in anxiety, that person is waiting for you on the other side of this commitment. Your overthinking mind might already be generating reasons to delay. What if it doesn't work for me? What if my situation is too complicated? What if I'm too far gone? These are exactly the kinds of thoughts that have kept you stuck. The only way to find out if this system works is to commit to trying it. You've spent countless hours, days, maybe even years trapped in overthinking cycles. Isn't it worth investing 24 hours to potentially free yourself from that prison forever? Turn the page, and let's begin your transformation. 1. The overthinking epidemic: why your brain betrays your heart. When your brain becomes your enemy. Overthinking in relationships operates like quicksand. The harder you struggle to find solid ground, the deeper you sink. What begins as an attempt to understand and improve your relationship becomes the very force that destabilizes it. Your mind, convinced it's protecting you from heartbreak, actually manufactures the distance and disconnection you fear most. The human brain evolved to keep us alive, not to keep us happy in love. This ancient survival system treats relationship uncertainty like life-threatening danger, flooding your body with stress chemicals whenever your partner seems distant or your future together feels unclear. While this hypervigilance might have helped our ancestors survive physical threats, it wreaks havoc on modern romantic connections. The self-fulfilling prophecy effect. When you constantly analyze your partner's behavior for signs of disinterest, you become withdrawn, suspicious, and emotionally unavailable, creating the exact disconnection you were trying to prevent. This psychological phenomenon turns your worst fears into reality through your own actions. Evelyn spent 3 hours dissecting a text conversation with her boyfriend, convinced his use of "okay" instead of "sounds great" meant he was pulling away. She became cold and distant at their next dinner, which prompted him to ask what was wrong. When she couldn't explain without sounding paranoid, the evening ended in awkward silence. Her fear of disconnection had created the very disconnection she dreaded, turning a neutral text exchange into a relationship wound that took weeks to heal. The self-fulfilling prophecy operates through several mechanisms. Behavior modification: you change how you act based on imagined threats. Energy depletion: mental loops drain the warmth and spontaneity your partner fell in love with. Communication breakdown: you become unable to express needs without revealing your spiral of worry. Emotional withdrawal, you protect yourself from imagined rejection by creating real distance. Analysis paralysis in love. Overthinking transforms natural relationship ebbs and flows into crisis moments, making you unable to respond authentically to your partner's needs because you're too busy calculating what your response means. Every interaction becomes a chess game where you're playing against yourself. Normal relationship moments get weaponized by the overthinking mind. Your partner comes home tired from work, and instead of offering comfort, you wonder if they're avoiding intimacy. They suggest staying in for the weekend, and you interpret this as evidence they're losing interest in shared adventures. They compliment your cooking, and you question whether they're overcompensating for some unspoken criticism. This constant analysis creates a peculiar form of relationship paralysis. You become so focused on finding the right response that you lose the ability to respond naturally. Simple conversations become minefields where every word choice carries imaginary weight. Nathan found himself rehearsing conversations with his girlfriend in his head for hours before seeing her. He would practice different ways to ask about her day, worried that showing too much interest would seem clingy, while showing too little would seem uncaring. By the time they were together, his responses felt scripted and artificial. His girlfriend eventually told him she felt like she was dating a robot, instead of the spontaneous person she'd fallen for. The intimacy killer. Mental gymnastics create an invisible wall between you and your partner, as you become more invested in your internal narrative about the relationship than in actually experiencing it. This barrier prevents genuine connection because you're never fully present. True intimacy requires vulnerability and presence. When your mind is busy analyzing, predicting, and protecting, you cannot offer either. You become like someone watching a movie of your own life rather than living it. Your partner senses this disconnection even when they can't name it. The overthinking mind treats intimacy as dangerous because closeness means potential loss. So it creates elaborate defense systems disguised as relationship improvement efforts. Constant relationship status checks, asking "Are we okay?" when nothing is wrong. Performance monitoring, tracking your partner's moods and responses like data points. Future-proofing conversations, discussing hypothetical problems that don't exist yet. Emotional insurance policies, holding back affection to minimize potential hurt. These behaviors create the opposite of security. Instead of building trust and connection, they signal to your partner that you view the relationship as inherently unstable and threatening. The hidden costs. The real tragedy of overthinking lies not just in what it creates, but in what it prevents. While you're busy managing imaginary relationship crises, you miss opportunities for genuine connection and growth. Your partner's actual needs go unnoticed because you're too focused on your projected fears. The emotional energy spent in mental loops could be channeled into building the very security and intimacy you crave. Instead of analyzing whether your partner loves you enough, you could be creating moments that naturally deepen their affection. Rather than worrying about future problems, you could be strengthening your foundation to handle whatever comes. This pattern becomes particularly destructive because it feels productive. Your mind convinces you that all this thinking serves a purpose, that you're being responsible and proactive about your relationship's health. In reality, you're engaging in the romantic equivalent of taking medicine for a disease you don't have, creating symptoms that require more desperate remedies. The journey ahead will show you how to redirect this mental energy toward building the secure, connected relationship you truly want. We'll explore how fear masquerades as protection, and more importantly, how to transform that fear into genuine intimacy and lasting confidence. Your overthinking mind isn't your enemy, it's a misguided protector that needs better instructions. When love hijacks your neural circuits. Dr. Daniel Siegel's research reveals that anxious attachment triggers the brain's alarm system, keeping you in a perpetual state of hypervigilance. Your amygdala, the brain's smoke detector, becomes hypersensitive to relationship threats, real or imagined. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thinking, gets hijacked by anxiety, making it nearly impossible to accurately assess your relationship's health. The irony is profound. The very brain designed to help you survive and thrive becomes the source of relationship sabotage. When love activates your attachment system, it also awakens every protective mechanism your brain has developed throughout your life. This creates a neurological perfect storm where your deepest desire for connection battles against your most primitive survival instincts. The threat detection system gone haywire. Your brain interprets neutral relationship moments as potential dangers, flooding your system with stress hormones that make clear thinking impossible and authentic connection nearly unattainable. This hyperactive alarm system transforms everyday interactions into crisis situations. Consider how your threat detection system processes a simple scenario. Your partner seems quiet during dinner. A calm brain might wonder if they had a stressful day at work or feel tired. An anxious brain immediately scans for danger signals, interpreting their quietness as evidence of relationship problems, hidden anger, or romantic interest elsewhere. The amygdala operates faster than conscious thought, making split-second decisions about safety based on incomplete information. In relationships, this means your brain often sounds the alarm before you even realize what triggered it. Your body floods with cortisol and adrenaline, preparing you to fight, flee, or freeze, none of which help you connect with your partner. This biological response served our ancestors well when facing physical predators, but it wreaks havoc on romantic relationships. Your partner's delayed text response triggers the same neurochemical cascade as a saber-toothed tiger attack, leaving you emotionally flooded and unable to think clearly about the situation. Memory distortion under stress. When anxious, your brain selectively recalls relationship evidence that supports your fears while filtering out positive experiences, creating a distorted relationship narrative that feels completely real. This phenomenon, called confirmation bias, turns your memory into a weapon against your own happiness. Stress hormones affect how memories form and which ones you can access. During anxiety episodes, your brain becomes a detective building a case against your relationship's stability. It pulls up every moment your partner seemed distant, every argument you've had, and every time they disappointed you, while conveniently forgetting the countless times they showed love and commitment. Henry found himself lying awake at 2 a.m., replaying his girlfriend's facial expression when he mentioned his upcoming work trip. His mind convinced him that her brief pause meant she was planning to cheat while he was away. Despite 3 years of faithful relationship history, his anxious brain cherry-picked moments of distance from months past, weaving them into a story of impending betrayal. The next morning, exhausted and emotionally raw, he picked a fight about something completely unrelated, unable to voice his real fears without sounding irrational. This memory distortion feels incredibly real because your brain presents these selected memories as objective truth. You genuinely believe your partner has been pulling away for weeks, even though yesterday you felt completely secure in their love. The anxiety creates an alternate reality where danger lurks behind every interaction. The neurochemical addiction to worry. Chronic overthinking creates neural pathways that make anxiety feel familiar and safe, while calm connection feels foreign and potentially dangerous to your hypervigilant mind. This paradox explains why many people resist letting go of relationship anxiety, even when they desperately want peace. Your brain learns through repetition, strengthening the neural pathways you use most frequently. If you spend hours each day analyzing your relationship for potential problems, those worry circuits become superhighways, while the pathways for calm appreciation remain barely used dirt roads. The neurochemical reward system adds another layer of complexity. Anxiety produces stress hormones that, while unpleasant, create a sense of alertness and control. Your brain interprets this hypervigilance as productivity, rewarding you with small hits of dopamine when you discover potential relationship threats. This creates an addiction cycle where worry feels more important than peace. Breaking free requires understanding that your anxious thoughts aren't providing valuable information. They're feeding a neurochemical habit that your brain mistakes for protection. The worried mind believes it's keeping you safe by staying alert to danger, but it's actually creating the very instability it fears. The integration challenge. Healing relationship anxiety requires integrating your emotional brain with your thinking brain. When these systems work together, you can feel your emotions without being controlled by them and think clearly without dismissing your feelings. This integration allows you to respond to relationship challenges from a place of wisdom rather than panic. The good news is that neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to form new neural pathways, means you can literally rewire your relationship with anxiety. Through specific practices that we'll explore in upcoming chapters, you can teach your threat detection system to distinguish between real relationship problems and anxious projections. Your brain's protective instincts aren't your enemy, they're a misguided security system that needs recalibration. The goal isn't to eliminate all relationship concerns, but to ensure your responses match the actual situation rather than your fears about it. Understanding how anxiety hijacks your neural circuits is the first step toward reclaiming control over your relationship experience. In the next chapter, we'll explore how this neurological hijacking creates the anxiety-intimacy paradox, where your attempts to protect love actually destroy what you're trying to preserve. Looking hard enough makes problems appear. Hypervigilance in relationships operates on a cruel paradox. The more intensely you search for problems, the more problems you'll discover, not because they actually exist, but because your anxious mind transforms normal relationship moments into evidence of dysfunction. This constant surveillance mode prevents you from experiencing the security and joy that healthy relationships naturally provide. When you approach your relationship like a detective investigating a crime, you inevitably find what you're looking for. Your brain, primed to detect threats, begins interpreting neutral events as confirming evidence of your worst fears. This creates a feedback loop where your searching behavior generates the very problems you were hoping to prevent. The confirmation bias trap. Once you're looking for signs of trouble, your brain becomes a detective building a case, interpreting everything through the lens of your fears. A delayed text becomes evidence of disinterest. A quiet moment becomes emotional withdrawal. This cognitive bias transforms innocent moments into relationship ammunition against your own peace of mind. Your brain operates like a search engine that only returns results matching your query. If you're searching for signs my partner doesn't love me, your mental algorithm will filter every interaction through that lens, highlighting anything that could possibly support your hypothesis while ignoring contradictory evidence. Consider how confirmation bias warps your perception of everyday interactions. Your partner comes home from work looking tired, and instead of seeing someone who needs comfort after a long day, your hypervigilant mind immediately categorizes this as emotional unavailability. They suggest ordering takeout instead of cooking together, and you interpret this as lack of investment in our relationship, rather than simple fatigue. The trap becomes self-reinforcing because your brain rewards this pattern with a sense of validation. Each time you discover evidence supporting your fears, you experience a brief hit of relief, not because you found actual problems, but because your anxious mind feels vindicated in its vigilance. This neurochemical reward system keeps you trapped in the detective role even when it's destroying your happiness. Creating tension through anticipation. Your hypervigilant energy creates an atmosphere of unease that your partner can feel but can't understand, leading them to actually become more distant or defensive in response to your anxious monitoring. This phenomenon turns your fears into self-fulfilling prophecies through the sheer force of your anxious attention. Partners are incredibly sensitive to emotional energy, even when nothing is explicitly said. When you're constantly scanning their behavior for signs of problems, they feel the weight of your surveillance without understanding its source. This creates a subtle but persistent tension that affects how they naturally express affection and intimacy. Marcus began analyzing every aspect of his girlfriend's behavior, after she seemed less enthusiastic about their usual Friday night plans. He started studying her facial expressions during conversations, measuring the duration of their hugs, and mentally cataloging how often she initiated physical contact.